about sales. It's relationship based. It was going to our referral sources who were case managers or attorneys to some degree, or it was whomever it was discharge planners in hospitals. And we would go in and we'd have to prove ourselves. And part of that proof was, are you consistent? Are you going to come and market to me as often as I think you should, or are you going to be a one-time guy with expectations that I'm going to send you business? So we built those relationships. We garnered the trust, and for us, it worked out. Worked out well.
All right, welcome to another episode of We Are Amada, and I have a treat for me. It probably a treat for you guys too, but I am really excited to be here with Kevin Manuel and Greg Hines, the proud owners of Amada Senior Care in Farmington Hills and kind of Greater Detroit.
That's right.
That's correct.
That whole area. And let me tell you something. This is a treat for me because I kind of tell my wife now that we've been married for 25 years that I don't remember life before Carolina. Mm-hmm. I actually don't remember life before you guys.
What an incredible compliment. Thank you.
Like, I don't remember Amada before Kevin and Greg. I'm actually serious about this. All of our trips, all the time we've spent together, seeing you guys build an incredible business. And we were talking about earlier today, you guys acquired the franchise in 2014.
That's correct.
I was shocked by that. I didn't think it was that long ago.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. So thank you for sitting down with us and spending some time.
Absolutely.
It's our pleasure.
I appreciate it. So I'd love to hear the thing I love and admire about you two is how you met. And I know that a lot of folks that look at Amada Senior Care, they may be thinking about jumping in with a partner or a spouse, or they may be looking for a business partner. Mm-hmm. And I know I'm going long here, but the other thing I just gush about you two is just the amazing relationship you guys have had for so long with your families, and how close you stay with your circle of friends. But anyway, and I so admire that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, if you talk about how you guys met.
Sure. We met in college at Indiana University. We met because we were both pledging the same fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi. And we met when we were selected to join the group that were coming in. I didn't know him before then. He didn't know me. And we met one evening because these are the guys that are going to be pledging. Yeah. All right. So we met there, and we've been great friends ever since. You know, we were in both each other's weddings.
That's right. And you met your spouses, your wives, in college too.
We did. Kevin dated Kathy, his wife Kathy, while we were in college. I met my wife while I was there. We didn't necessarily date, but started dating right after college. But I knew her from Indiana.
Okay.
So the answer is yes. We met our spouses both on the campus of Indiana University.
And you stayed in touch. You were in each other's weddings, and life took you into the same industry.
Yes, we did.
Eventually.
Eventually.
Oh, eventually.
Eventually, yeah, not right out of college.
So,
but eventually.
So you went into...
right out of college, I was in retail pharmacy and then into banking for many years. And then
I did not know that.
Yes, and then pharmaceutical sales. In the last, it was 17 years or so, I was in pharmaceutical sales.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for me, out of college, I did insurance. And then from insurance, I went into pharmaceutical sales and then medical device sales. And so our paths were pretty similar in that we both ended up on the medical side of business, right? And the beauty of that, Marcos, is that experience for both of us in pharmaceutical and medical devices sort of gave us this yearning to to some degree, stay inside of healthcare, sure, whatever that meant for us.
Right.
When we decided to move forward in whatever that was going to be after our corporate jobs, because of the healthcare background, we decided that home care, because it was sort of closely related, was where we wanted to be and what we wanted to do. So from our meeting in college to the jobs afterwards, we always see it as a setup almost to where we are now with Amada Senior Care. It's really is a really interesting story and really interesting background.
Did both of you have that entrepreneurial itch from the college days? Did you, or when did that start?
For me, it was when I was in banking. And I was like a branch manager, so I dealt with a lot of small business owners.
No way.
Yes.
Personal loans.
Personal business loans. Yes.
No way.
All the things
I did the same thing.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So I would work with my small business owners who would come in and help with their banking, and I always really admired those guys running their business and that having that entrepreneurial spirit and the whole thing. So that's where I really got my and some family members. I had an uncle too had run his own business, but really the banking is where that.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
What about you, Greg?
Well, it kind of ran through the veins, right? My grandfather was an entrepreneur. He owned a plumbing business, and my dad was an entrepreneur in the sense that he did taxes. He was a steel worker.
Really?
But on the side, my dad, who was a brilliant mathematical mind, did taxes for all of his buddies and all of our neighbors. So I kind of had that entrepreneurial itch and kind of grew up with people who did that for a long time. And I always knew that at some point in life it'd be something that I would do. I just didn't know what that something was. But luckily for us, we kind of found out where our passion lied. And I don't think that in having done this for 11 years, right, since 2014, I don't know that there would have been anything else that I could have done that would have offered me in life what we get from what we do now, and that's serving clients, and it's working proudly working with a lot of veterans.
Yes.
And importantly, working with people who have an incredible need for the service that we have. So I think the whole journey took me in particular to a point where not only was I able to fulfill that entrepreneurial itch, but I think I tell people this is my ministry.
Yeah.
Home care is my ministry. It helped me, our background and our journey and our history and our story kind of helped me to find what it was that I think I was called to do.
It is a very interesting industry where you're potentially making money, but also serving at the same time. And the more you serve, the more money you make, and it kind of it doesn't happen aside from each other, right? You have to be serving, you have to have your ministry at the same time as you're making money. Mm-hmm. And we were talking earlier about how some folks, when they come to us, they don't have a sales background.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, well, I've never sold anything. I don't know if I can sit down with a family and sell them. What's your experience in what does that really mean when you sit down with a family? And what does sales mean in our industry?
It may be a little different than in other industries. I can't speak to someone without a sales background, but I can speak to what you're going to do in the home. Mm-hmm. So someone who doesn't have that sales background, I think, can do this because basically what you're doing is you're going into a family's home, having a conversation about what is going on with that loved one. What kind of assistance do they? So you're really listening a lot to the situations they have, what's going on with their family. And generally when you're going in there, the family is sometimes at their wits' end because they don't know what to do. Okay. So it's having that compassion and being able to listen and understand. And then once you're going to understand this business, then you kind of match what you do with what their needs are. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily you going in and selling them, you got to buy this. No, you're going in because they need what you are having to offer, because a lot of times they have been referred to you by someone else that they have met in the community because they were in a long-term, in a SNF, a skilled nursing facility, or coming out of the hospital. Mm-hmm. So someone who's looked at them and then evaluated them says, someone said you need this. So it's not that I got to sell you like a car, right?
Yeah.
You might not necessarily need that car right now, but the service that we provide, generally, you're going to need that service now.
And the other thing that's weird about that is when that professional says, you probably need a caregiver, that's the other thing I think people don't make a connection is it's not like the family goes, oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Right.
Let me go ahead and I'll Google that and I'll find the caregiver.
Right.
It's like healthcare is, you kind of go, what is that?
Right.
And who do I call? What do I do?
Sure.
Right? No one is prepared for that.
Exactly.
That's right.
But let's not say that it's not that sales and the activity of sales is not important to this business. When you guys started in 2014, I'm assuming it was very important to have tenacity and to get out there. And can you describe what that was like?
Sure.
That first year of building this business.
It was not as fun as we're having now, but it was probably really a lot more critical and important to go through because it got us to where we are. So the first year for us was us learning the business. And what that meant, Marcos, to us was that we needed to understand and to be good at all aspects. So we needed to be HR guys, we needed to be operational guys, we needed to be sales guys. And so the way I think we saw sales, because we had excelled in our previous lives as salespeople. Kevin won all kind of president awards. I got lucky one time and won it. He won it like 100 times. I don't know.
I don't believe that, but anyway.
And so we knew that there had to be a change in mindset. And for us, what we saw, and here's a really quick story. Our very first client was a client that we got from Kevin's barber.
Yeah.
And
that's right. I remember this.
Yeah. And so we got.
And you started talking? Is that how?
Oh yeah, because we were. I'll let Greg finish. But yeah, just him cutting my hair, he knew I was getting into this business.
Yeah.
So he knew what field I was in. So that's how that came out.
No way. That was the first client.
It was the first client. We got it from Kevin's barber, and we go out to see the guy. And we're in Kevin's car, and I go, dude, let's say a prayer because we need this guy. And so we go in and we talk to him.
So you this is how long after you are. Well, there's no license in
there's no license.
Okay, so you acquire the business. This is how much time after it's not immediate.
No,
it wasn't immediate. I think we met the guy right before Thanksgiving, shortly before Thanksgiving. So we go out and meet the guy. We're in front of his house and we're doing what we got to do to get pumped up to go in and talk to him. We go in and talk to the gentleman. His name, I remember his name. He passed some years ago, so I'll say his name. It was Mr. Green. Mr. Green. We're talking to him, and we're talking to his caregiver. His name was Mr. Brooks.
Oh.
And we tell them, this is who we are, this is what we can do.
But he already had a caregiver.
Well, it was a guy he lived with.
So like a family care, like a best friend, family caregiver, yeah.
Probably somebody who was not able to continue.
He was not. He was at his wit's end. He was exhausted.
And he was still working.
He was taking care of himself. He had his own life, so he needed us. What we saw during the course of that conversation, this is what I saw, and I suspect Kevin to some degree saw something similar, was that this kind of sale was different than selling products for heart rooms, which is what I did prior to, or selling neurologic products, which is
heart rooms is hospitals.
So I saw products that were used in surgeries and where there were heart procedures.
Yeah.
So we knew it was different. We knew that this was more of an empathetic, to Kevin's point, listening sale, where we had to understand what they clearly needed and express clearly the fact that we had the capability of providing help for this guy in this situation. So we go in and we talk to him and tell him who we are and tell him that, we're new. Well, he asked, how many clients do you have? And I think it was Kevin who said, well, we're new, we don't have any clients. And he said something like, you have no clients?
I'm going to be your first client?
I'm going to be your first client? With which, of course, our hearts were beating because we didn't think we'd get it. And we continued to talk to him and to sell him, not in the traditional sense, but in the sense that these were two guys who had his best interest at heart. And we would we committed to running a good business. And if he let us take care of him, then we would do the very best that we could to help to support his needs. And he hired us. We signed him up, and we moved forward from there. So that was our first client. And that was our mindset that that you cannot think in the same terms that you did when you sold something different, because home care is completely different. The other thing that this did for us was that most entrepreneurs, of course, think that you're going to make a boatload of money. That's why you do it, right?
That's why you do it.
That's why you do it.
Sure. And there's no
it's
no
not a bad
judgment or
thing.
shame in that. It's
not,
wonderful.
Not value judging that sentiment at all, because
Right.
that's what we thought and that's what we wanted. But what it did for us is it changed our minds to recognize that it's about the people, right? And it's not about the money. But if you take good care of the people, the money follows, right? And so that's what that experience is, our first client and our philosophy of sales, and that taught us.
And to answer your question about how long did it take, I think we got our collateral, our material to give out with like September, around 1st of September. So that was November when we got that first client.
What was that like?
You know, it tell you because as he said, Greg and I, we were selling products, medication, devices, whatever, and we were having some success, right? What we found out, and I think we were maybe a little arrogant, think, well, we device sales, pharmaceutical sales, we're gonna come in, we can do this, we can sell this. This is easy. But because it isn't selling a product or medication to someone, you're taking care of people. It was very humbling because you had, when you were speaking to the social workers and their discharge planners in some of these facilities we're going in, they weren't going to refer a client to you if they did not trust you.
They didn't trust you.
And they didn't.
And you didn't have
Pfizer, right.
Yeah. That name. I mean,
Amada, they had
no one had ever
heard of Amada, right? So they had to get to know you and trust you, and so they would recognize that we're going to be there, right?
And by the way, they're not kidding around.
No.
These case managers, these social workers, they're in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
They care about who they're discharging to.
Mm-hmm.
They're not kidding, right?
Right.
Like they really do need to get to the point. They may like you,
Right.
but do they trust you?
Right.
Which we found to be the most important thing. And again, that kind of formed the philosophy that we had about sales. It's relationship based. It was going to our referral sources, who were case managers or attorneys to some degree, or it was whomever it was discharge planners in hospitals. And we would go in and we'd have to prove ourselves. And part of that proof was, are you consistent? Are you going to come and market to me as often as I think you should? Or are you going to be a one-time guy with expectations that I'm going to send you business? So we built those relationships. We garnered the trust. And for us, it worked out. Worked out well.
Okay, so tell me then about you get your first client, and that's kind of a shot in the arm, a little confidence.
Yes.
You come out of that home looking at each other going,
Yay.
it actually worked.
Right.
And how does that go after that?
We start getting clients, you got the first one, then by the year end, December, maybe had 5 clients, I'm not sure. And then it just kept rolling. And then we got some, we were very fortunate, not just fortunate, we worked very hard in getting a relationship with the VA, local VAs.
Well, the information center was before.
Oh yeah, we had another, our first kind of contract was with a nonprofit, and they were a Medicaid waiver company. So they did them. They were one of the nonprofits that did Medicaid waiver in our local area.
And if I remember, you guys are kind of pioneers in that, I think.
Oh, for Amada, could be
for
Amada, yeah.
Because we talk about Medicaid today is still only about 3% of our business,
Mm-hmm.
and at that time, I would think the VA was maybe not even that much.
I don't think so. I think at that point it was just Andre,
yeah,
right.
the Pegasus, and maybe one other franchise partner who was doing the VA.
It just wasn't a big focus for us.
That's right.
And I remember, and I think it's really interesting because, and I don't know what came first, but for a long time we'd always talked about long-term care insurance, private pay, long-term care insurance, and for you guys, it wasn't hitting.
Right.
That was in the vein, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, it was bad timing. I think LTCI, long-term care insurance, is something that we all should do. It's just so valuable for the system. And we tell people we know more about long-term care insurance than many of the agents in our area.
Right.
But for us at that point, it did not work out.
Right.
Just didn't work out. And that's okay. We had to make the decision to pivot. And our pivot then was the contract that Kevin had a great relationship with somebody we met at a networking meeting, and he got all the information. He got the Medicaid contract. Then we moved to, our pivot was to potential VA business. And it was interesting back in those days because the way that as a franchisee you'd go after the VA is different than what we have in place now. There was no rules. There was no protocol, right?
That's right.
And so Kevin, we have 2 VAs in our area. We have the Ann Arbor VA. Kevin was tasked to take care of that one. I had the Detroit VA.
Okay.
And we were literally knocking on doors probably 2-3 times a month at these VAs to try to get in. I think he got in first in Ann Arbor. And by the end of
that's why all the presents.
Yeah.
Let's call it luck. Let's call this one luck. Right.
So it took me about 6 months to get it to the Ann Arbor, and I think it takes
a year.
6 months and 3 times a week.
We're knocking on doors. We're developing relationships. It took me until the end of 2015. I literally would go there and try to meet with the director of social work, and would get no. And here's an important lesson for any franchisee. That you cannot stop at no in this business. You've got to keep going after it, because one of those times, timing was perfect. I went in there, secretary said, she will see you today. And wow. She saw me because she knew that I was consistent. I kept going there, and they were looking for new vendors.
The perfect time, right there.
Absolutely. And that's
had you quit,
it would have never happened. And now I'm going to brag about this because he's talking about this 6 month stuff and how good he is. But the VA is, for us, the Detroit VA is where we get the majority of VA revenue. It's my VA that we get the. But no, there was a lesson to learn.
Effort.
It's a year. 6 months. 6 months for Ann Arbor, and about a year effort for the Detroit VA.
Yeah.
And that is amazing.
And what we tell any new franchise partners is that marketing sales is not a one-time, one-stop, donut drop off. You got to be consistent. You got to stay out there. You got to market. You got to meet people. You got to develop relationships. And people have got to at some point learn that you are reliable.
Did you? I don't know. 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, where you're like, what? Why did you keep going?
Well, we were doing other things too.
Sure.
So it was part of our routine. It was like other things we're doing to get other business, but also we knew other people were having some success. Andre was having success out there in California, so we can do this too. We can just. So we were just persistent and kept going and going.
Yeah. It's we talk. We've had 20,000 people inquire about Amada, and they always ask, what's the thing that is going to make me fail? What's the one thing? And I think we just hit on it. But what is the one thing, if somebody's looking at this and that I should be saying, the one thing is what to you guys? Greg, you first.
Well, I think for me, the one thing is to be committed to your own success, right? And what that could mean is that that you have to have some kind of resilience. You're going to get a lot of no's. You've got to be able to convince those people that you're trying to sell to that you are capable of providing the service that you're telling them that you're going to do. And at the same time, that committed thing could be that you really understand that this business is a business about people. And they've got to sense that from you. Every word that you speak, everything that you do has to go back to you demonstrating to them that your commitment means that you understand that what you do is provide care, and at a very high level.
Kevin, what somebody says, what's the one thing that is the reason why somebody would fail?
If you're not consistent and you don't have standards. So you gotta be consistent and then have standards, high standards. To me,
can't be sloppily consistent.
You can't be sloppy. You gotta have you gotta have you gotta have some standards and some morality too. Because you're taking care of people.
That's right.
And they got to understand. They got to trust you. And it's not always about money. Because we kind of talked about that. We're taking care of someone, and it was a gentleman who had early onset dementia, a young guy, in his maybe 60s, early 70s, wow. And his wife is just stressed, and we're in there providing the care. And it was an insurance policy. It was a little different than what we normally deal with, but however. I called her on a particular time when I thought that policy was going to end. I said, this policy is going to end right here. She was like, no, they told me this period. I said, okay, we'll keep going. I said, again, it's that time. It's going to end. No, it's not. They tell me this. But anyway, it did end. All right.
She was right.
She was right for a bit, but then when she thought it was going to go longer, it ended. Okay. But we were still out there providing the care.
Yeah.
Okay. So now at this point, she doesn't have the insurance to pay. Okay,
nice.
But she owes us, right?
So not a little bit of money.
Not a little bit of money. So it was a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. And so at this point, what do you do? This lady is stressed. She's really going through it. Now she doesn't have the care to provide for her husband. Instead of just saying, hey, you still owe me, which she does. All right, let's work together. Let me reduce, let me just give it to you at my cost these last 3 weeks at my cost. And just pay me over time. So it's not always about making the monies, but having the compassion and understanding what people are going through.
And while you're saying that, I was about to say, because when you do that, then she's going to tell her neighbor, and she's going to do that. But then I started thinking, no, you do that because it's the right thing.
It's the right thing to do.
She may never tell a soul.
That's right.
But you do it because it's the right thing.
Right.
Right?
Right.
They never pay you back in any other way other than the fact that.
Yeah, but you look and you see what people are going through.
Yeah.
And you got to have some compassion, empathy.
So let's take that to the caregivers. So people always ask me about turnover of caregivers. How difficult is it to hire caregivers? What is it like having folks that you're maybe paying anywhere between $15 to $24 an hour, depending where you are in the country. And we talked a lot about the compassion and doing the right thing. And you've got an army out there representing you. What is that like?
It's another proud moment for us because we can always say we hire over 120 Detroiters, usually Detroiters. We give people jobs, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it works out very well, and other times maybe not so well. But at the end of the day, we're providing opportunities for people who sometimes may not have opportunities or the kind of opportunities that they'd like to have. Is it stressful? Yeah, it is. It is sometimes because, again, you're relying upon these people to provide service for your clients, folks who really need the service. And your biggest hope through your screening, through your orientation, and through your training is that you're giving them what they need in order to go out and service your clients. And again, it works out most of the time, but sometimes it doesn't. So the question is it stressful? Is it difficult? As an owner, it should always be, right? It should always be because,
care, right?
Because we care and we want to always put out a good product. But at the same time, for us, it's satisfying because we call our caregivers our clients as well.
Yeah. Because
we're helping a group of people. In some instances, we're elevating a group of people. And it's a good thing 99% of the time, 95% of the time.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes it doesn't work out though.
And when it doesn't work out, My CNA Jobs is always talking about how that a lot of times it doesn't work out, and an agency has a decision to make on how you treat that person when it doesn't work out. How have you guys dealt with that?
Well, if it doesn't work out,
What we mean is you hire the caregiver and maybe they call in late all the time, they don't show up, or something happens. How do you deal with that?
Well, we are a business, and we're providing a service. And I remember I said about standards. You got to have standards,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
So our expectations that our clients expect to have service, and for the caregiver to be there on time. And we let our caregivers know this. Here are our standards. Amada Senior Care Farmington Hills. Here's our standards, and these are what we expect you to do. Okay. And when it doesn't work out, we always say we don't fire anyone. People fire themselves.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're not meeting the standards, they understand that, and we're going to have conversations with you. And so the most important thing is making sure that client is provided with a quality care. Not that we don't care about our caregivers, we do. We care a lot about the people that we hire, but we still got to take care of these folks over here. And if you're not meeting those standards, then we got to part ways.
That reminds me of, I had a job when I was in college for Sears. And I was the guy that they would call when their fridge would break or their washing machine. And I thought I did a great job answering the phones and talking to people. It was a big call center in Utah. And there was like you'd work for a season, you had a contract, and then they would reset the contract. And I remember I came in, I was getting my new schedule, and they said, "Here's your new schedule, Marcos. It is from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m." I was like, "What? What? Why? What? I can't." And they said, "No, that's your new shift." And I quit, and I went in to talk to a manager who wasn't my manager, and I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Oh, we have standards." And he explained to me. He said, that this is, and it was. I actually appreciated that. I never forgot that. That they were kind to me, but they said, We're gonna put you on a night shift because you're just not doing a great job on the phones for us, Marcos. So Sears was like, "Hey man, you're not doing a good job for us," but they didn't fire me, and I really actually appreciated that.
Sure.
I thought it was a wonderful way to tell me I kind of suck.
Yeah.
And I needed to have better standards.
And it probably changed your philosophy about how you worked for.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I was a little embarrassed, and I was a little like, "Oh, I did not know that."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. So you are now 10 years in. 11, 12, no, 11 years, and you have grown to one of the top Amada franchises in the country, and by that, one of the largest home care companies around. What would you say to somebody who is now in 2025 looking to start a home care company, and if on Amada or not, but if somebody who's looking to start a home care company, what would you say to them?
Well, to become an Amada franchisee or to start a home care company?
Let's go. We don't want anybody starting the Los Amada franchise.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be an error. So I think that what I would tell anyone who had interest in joining the Amada family and getting into home care is that they have to be committed and they have to jump in with both feet.
This is not a dabble.
No. It just puzzles me when I talk to those folks who have any kind of interest in the business. When I talk to the ones who say, "Well, I'm going to work in my job until this gets up and going," my counsel is always that's a bad idea because this is not that kind of a business. I don't think you'll be satisfied with the results, and I don't think you'll hit your goals if you're not 100% committed and in with both feet. That is always my conversation with anybody who's interested. You got to be committed and fully vested into the business.
Love that. Kevin?
Yeah, it's just from the business side of it. this is a great business to be in. You know, the baby boomers, the need for what we do is only growing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the stat is the baby boomer, the oldest baby boomer, I think he just hit age 80, and the youngest is 61.
Jeez.
So there's just
That's
so
so
much, so many people we're aging that's going to need what we do.
Yeah.
Okay. So as far as a business, if you want to set up a business, I don't see how you can go wrong. Because
The
you're
need.
going to
You just go by the need.
The need is going to be there.
Tsunami.
It is just a matter of the resources, people being able to pay and figuring that piece out.
Right.
But the need is there. So if you're looking for a business to go into, I would direct you to home care.
What if I look in my market and I pull up, I need a caregiver, and I pull up 5 pages of Google results of 150 companies in my market?
Mm.
We know that there's competition out there, but that's never really bothered us, right? We've never had an issue that there's competition. I think to Kevin's point, there is a silver tsunami, right? It's that group of folks between 61 and 80, and it's 30 million, 50 million of those folks. So whether I have 150 competitors in my market or if I have one competitor in my market, there's still plenty of business for me. If I'm running a good business, if I'm committed, if I'm hiring good caregivers, if I'm doing what I need to do, I'm not so much worried about the caregivers as I am making sure that the business that I run is a good business.
Love it. Gentlemen, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's always fun talking to you, Mark.
Yes. And thank you for representing Amada for so long. You know, I remember it must have been 2015 or 16 or 17, and we had a prayer breakfast, and you spoke. I can't remember what year that was.
Yeah.
But there's so many Amada franchise partners who have talked to you guys in their hour of trying to make decisions, and then they join Amada and they still call you guys, and every time I've called you and said, "Can you talk to this person? Can you talk?" And you're always like, "Of course." And I'm telling you, there's no Amada without. I'm super thankful.
That's very kind
Very,
of you.
very
So,
kind of you.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you for joining us for another episode of We Are Amada. Kevin and Greg, thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate you. We'll see you guys next time.
All right.